Hope everybody's had a good day. I had a good day. I just got home from my first shift on the floor at work. If you're like, who the fuck is this? I don't even know who you are, bitch. I'm Liz. I just transitioned out of my old life and old career, and I am taking some respite for a little bit at a nice cush fine dining job, and I hadn't waited tables in like 12 years, so I just kind of showed up at this restaurant one day and I was like, hey, I'm Liz. They're like, when do you start? And I was like, great, but I hadn't done it in a while, so I'd been kind of nervous leading up to the night and studying, thinking I had to take this menu test. And I mean, this menu test is pretty extra. It's like the final exams of like a semester. It's really extensive. So I've just been studying for this and like studying our wine list and pairings and French culinary terminology and canonical French herb blends. It's a lot. So I'm just like, gosh, I just want to get through, make the table without doing something ridiculous or embarrassing or completely forgetting something vital to the operation. So I had gone through all my training shifts, and tonight was the night where they were going to give me a small section of 2 tables and just ease me in. And so it's also winter here, so it's not like everything is really dead in January in Nashville. Like in most of the industries here in town, everything's just dead. And it starts picking back up in like February, mid-February, March. And so I was kind of strategic in when I started this job, knowing that like, okay, I want to get back, get my sea legs again during the slow season, which was great. And so, but even still, I'm one of those people that can like go to the worst places in my mind if I'm not careful and like be riddled with anxiety over the dumbest things. Like seriously, it doesn't take much. Things could be good and I'm anxious. Things could be bad and I'm anxious. So it's always a process for me to try to manage that. But so I had told you guys in previous videos recently, in the past few days, that I've been consciously working with Jesus. And I think that I discovered some things about that today, because I every time I've been actively working with Jesus and saying these prayers, it's like everything unfolds exactly as me and Jesus planned and discussed. And so I think that the difference that you have, or like the nuance that is important, is that when we pray to Jesus to help us with something, say it's healing a part of our personality, or maybe like, giving a harmonious influence over a situation or some circumstances, I think it's important to note that there is a difference between passively praying for Jesus to help you and actively praying for Jesus to help you. And this is what I mean. So I have noticed that for some, if you express a problem, or if they have a problem, their answer is, Jesus is the answer. Pray that Jesus will heal you. Pray that Jesus will make you a patient person. Pray that Jesus will take it away. And that's great, but in a way that can be spiritual bypassing, because you're not showing up and taking any responsibility for your half. And I think that's why people don't have the results that they want, or they don't realize that they are getting an answer or results, but it's not what they are expecting, because they're not really showing up doing their half. So everything's not playing out the way they're expecting, and they're not sure why it's not working. And so they're like doubling down, and they think it's because they don't have enough faith, or because they've misbehaved, or because they're not good enough, or because they didn't say it right. And that's not really the case. I think it's because these people think that when they ask, it's like they're like, witchcraft is of the devil, magic's of the devil, but yet they're praying in a way that where they believe in like fairy tale magic, where they're like, oh, if I pray to Jesus that I will be more patient, then I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be more patient, and it's not going to take any effort from my side, and there's just going to be a magic wand, or Jesus is going to get me out of debt. and it's just going to happen like that, just like this. I don't have to do anything. He's just taking care of it. And that's just not how it works. And I don't think that even like if Jesus was this cartoon character that we were talking to who was just waiting to like jump in and like change everything for us so that we didn't have to make any effort and we could just lay back flaccidly forever. Like I think that he'd be like, this isn't even good for you. Like, I'm just like enabling you to be infantile and incapable and incompetent. Like, why would anybody want that? And so actively praying to Jesus for me has been, I'm just going to have to describe it. So I will get really focused and intent, and I will imagine Jesus how I imagine him, you know, like for instance, in the car on the way to work, I imagined him sitting in my passenger seat. And I said, you know, okay, Jesus, I would love to go into work, and I would love for us to have a quiet, steady evening where everybody gets to make pretty good money, but it's not hectic. It's all harmonious and tranquil and languid, and it's just a perfect night where I can have some practice tables, get 2 or 3 under my belt, take my time, process the you know, the steps and the order of it all on the computer, and do what I need to do and be nice, you know, and talk to them and give them recommendations and not feel rushed, and then be cut, and that be it, and I'll be home early. And the kitchen will be harmonious, and we'll have everything. We won't be out of anything, and it'll be like the ideal night, and I'll have a variety of situations, and it'll be great. And it'll be perfect to learn from. And that's exactly how it played out. However, I will say this, that I knew that when I was on the way to work, I was priming myself and choosing my state of mind to be in. And so I felt myself getting nervous early in the day, and I just knew it was silly because I was like, I'm going to be fine. Like, it's going to be a slow night. Like, I'm completely competent to do this. Like, if I was filming a show in a restaurant and they were like, Liz, get in, you have to go take tables for whatever reason, you know, I would have been able to like pull it off and like probably like join the staff and take tables, like if it was for film production, right? So I was like, I can do this. I'm just going to pretend like I'm here. And they just needed to throw me in and make me do this because that's what film life was like. They're like, Liz, can you wrangle these elephants? And I'm like, sure, of course. Obviously, I know how to wrangle elephants as usual. So I was like, okay, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. And I'm eager to serve. And I'm genuinely wanting people to have a good night, and I'm happy to help. And so you can't really go wrong if you're coming in with that kind of attitude. And I was determined to be sprightly and fun and like cool with everybody, and you know, making everybody have a good mood, because it can be stressful, you know, when it's winter and you have to spend hours at work knowing that you're not going to make a ton of money, or you don't have a lot of shifts during the week, so people put a lot of pressure on those shifts, and I've learned not to do that. You can't go in putting a lot of pressure. You have to go in lighthearted, released, doesn't matter, it'll all work out, we'll all be fine. And and it really sets the tone, and it sets the vibrational temperature of the environment that you're going into. So I prayed for this good shift and for just the right examples to give me a good like smattering of situations where I could like experience and walk through that in person. So I get to the restaurant, and we're opening, and during our opening meeting, my manager says, oh, just a heads up, guys, like we have a VIP couple coming in. They drove in from Knoxville. It's their anniversary, and they're a little bit particular, and they were like, yeah, we'll probably give this to one of our, you know, the seasoned servers. And I was like, no, guys, I'll take them. Give them to me, trial by fire. And everybody laughed because they were like, oh yeah, Liz is like fresh out off the boat, you know, she's like the 2-table shift where you don't like, you know, you don't really, no one gives you the important table. So ironically enough, I had declared this, like, oh, I'm getting this table, and joking around, and sure enough, they are the first table that arrives in the restaurant. There's no one else there yet. And these people walk in and they're pointing right over to my section, and I'm like, this is really happening, isn't it? I'm getting like the finicky like VIP couple on their anniversary that drove from Knoxville. So it's like, could the stakes get any higher? So they go to my table and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna nail it. So I did. Like, I walked up and sold them, like, I don't know, all of our like kind of high dollar specials just by accident. I just kind of mentioned that those items, and they were particular, but that's okay. Like, that's just, they just knew what they wanted and how they wanted it, and I don't mind. Like, no skin off my bones. And I only had, you know, one other table in my section, so it was empty. There was no other tables in the restaurant. I had plenty of time. So I took care of these people, and they were great. And they were like, "Oh man, Liz, you're the best. You're amazing." And I was like, "Oh, tell me more." But then, yeah, after that, I had another couple of great tables, and it was 3 tables total for the whole night. And I still made the same amount of money as I would have like 10 years ago, working like a horrible like Saturday lunch shift all day until like 4 o'clock downtown Nashville, wanting to run away and never come back. So it was really great. But another point that I would like to make about, so actively working with Jesus is when you know that you're going to show up and you're getting your mind and your heart and your soul and your spirit, everything's aligned and harmonious with the goal. Like, you're showing up and you're doing your part. So I knew I was going to go in with a good attitude. I was going to do my best. I prepared as much as I could. And at that point, I was just like, yeah. And then you just kind of have to like let the water roll off your back and ask questions when you need to, and be okay with messing up and laugh it off and whatever. So I went in, and every single thing that I declared for my shift, all the blessings were there. All the blessings happened. And even the joke. And that's, remember, we were talking about that the other day. I said the things that you manifest the easiest are like the little jokes that you make, like, you know, not even paying attention. And so you better be careful about what kind of jokes you're making, because those are the things that manifest the easiest. Like the whole, like, no, let me get them, guys, trial by fire. Totally happened. I also ended up having to open a bottle of wine for a table, which is another thing I've been a little nervous about it, because I hadn't done it in so long. Like, it's not like when you're at home, you're opening a bottle like on your own countertop. No one cares. You probably have the cheater thing that has like the arms that go like that. No, I mean, when you're opening a table in a restaurant, you're like holding it in the air, and like, I don't know, it's just really awkward. So I actually opened the bottle very gracefully. I'd been practicing at home and I hadn't done it in a while, and like I'd been like wrestling with the bottle. I'm like, oh my God, like the loudest like kissing pop when it comes out, and I'm like, this is gonna be so embarrassing. But it was a very graceful open, a very, very neat foil cut, and a silent, soundless cork extraction. So very proud, guys. But the other point that I wanted to make, other than actively working with Jesus, knowing that you're bringing your energy, you're setting your vibration, you're setting your intention, and you're meeting halfway, with absolute certainty that everything's going to be fine, that it's all going to work out, that it's all going to play out just as it's supposed to for the highest good of all. And you have that, the certainty is so there that you're like, even if it doesn't go the way I think it is, I know it's all playing out for my highest good. And you're not like, oh, I hope it is. It's like, you're like, no, I'm relaxed. Like, everything's going to be fine. I just know it. And, yeah, so I think I've circled back to that same point 3 or 4 times to finish what I was going to say. Moving on to the next tip is that I was going to tell you that always take responsibility for setting the vibrational thermostat of the environment that you walk into. So many times, and if you're here watching this video, you're likely the more conscious person in the space of wherever you go. On average, people aren't super conscious, and I mean, some people are, and they're in growing numbers, thank God. But you can kind of assume that if you're the one that's aware of it, then it's all on you to make it happen. And so I have found that on days when I was going to set, or when I am going in for a restaurant shift, or even, back in my old life before film, I learned to do this, to walk into my restaurant shifts and do this as well. But you have a very, the more conscious you are, the more widespread your aura is, and the stronger, more prevalent your energy is. And so you're influencing the energy of the whole room. So if you go to a place and you're like, okay, I'm going to take this particular kind of energy here with me. When I needed to watch my younger sister while my dad was in the hospital, which he is great, he's recovered. He had a bacterial infection it was really rough, but he pulled through. So thank you if you prayed for him in that situation. But I knew that when I went into that situation, I needed to be solid, grounded, unafraid, completely calm. Because if I am calm, then Cora is calm. If I am afraid and she senses it, then she's going to be afraid. And I don't think she ever felt truly insecure during that period. I think that she felt safe and comforted, and she didn't seem too upset. I think that we did a good job to let her know what was happening, but not give her any kind of fear or neuroses about it. We were just like, this is what's going on. We're giving updates, and I tried to stay as calm as possible. When I'm going into a situation where I know that people are going to be grouchy and salty, I try to be pleasant and not irritating, low key, pleasant, smile, cooperative. But not with boundaried, not a doormat, but just don't make an issue for people if it's not necessary. Just get along, cooperate. We're all trying to work together. And then, if there's a situation that I'm going into, work tonight, I wanted to be sprightly. I wanted to be fun. I wanted to bring a good attitude. And even there were times when, Salty Grumps would say something, and I could have been like, well, and I could have really taken it wrong and taken offense to it and been defensive and been like, well, I don't know. But I didn't. I was just like, you know what? They're just trying to tell me, give me a tip, but they did it in a bad way or whatever. But yeah, I just blew it off and kept coming at it with hey, what do you do outside of work and blah, blah, blah. And it was it could have caused tension between us, but it didn't. So I think it's really important to take responsibility to go in and set the tone of the atmosphere. And it can be just as true that you can affect the energy in a negative way. I used to do that before I was more aware, before I knew about energy and metaphysics. And, I was just educated as a traditional Christian Baptist growing up. I didn't know about, the energy world, and I had theories about it and hunches, but I didn't know the spiritual laws of the cosmos, and I didn't know that that attracts and that energy affects other energy, and it's malleable. And so when I would go in and I would get in my salty moods, and I would just be frustrated and down and depressed and angry and enraged. I mean, this was if never work on Lower Broadway, Nashville. It's horrible down there. You will go insane. And I was going insane. And I just thought, that's so unfair that everybody else can be in a bad mood, but if I'm in a bad mood, then everybody gets in a bad mood, and I have to carry the joy all the time. Why can't I have my bad days? And my manager came up to me once, and he was like, you know what, Liz? He was like, you have this effect on the whole staff. And he was like, when you're in a good mood, it is like a party. It is the best. Everybody has a great time. But he was like, but when you're in a bad mood, everybody else gets in a bad mood too, because your energy is so strong, so, I don't know, it makes such an impression that it actually affects the whole shift. And I was like, dang, I have to be really responsible for my energy because I am having an effect on other people. And that's when I learned how to find out how to manage my energy. And that's when I started learning about it, because I didn't know that there were things that you could do and practices and spiritual practices. I didn't really know about meditation and things like that yet, and the quantum world and things of that nature. So yeah, so actively pray to Jesus rather than passively. Don't wait for, something to be solved by the wave of a magic wand. You have to show up too and do your part and listen to your intuition and your guidance, and you have to follow that guidance, and you have to take the torch he's passing you and relay with him. And then also remember that you're responsible for setting the vibrational tone of where you go. So you bring that energy with you. So decide very carefully what energy you want to take with you into each situation, to make it more harmonious, to make it enhanced, to make it gentler, or to be more comforting for someone. All right. Well, you guys, thank you for joining me for this moment on a daily basis. I hope it provides you something. I have people that I watch on YouTube, and it's like, I'm such a psycho for saying this, but over the years, it's like I feel like they become like these like fairy god sisters and brothers and mothers and aunts, and it's like I don't know a lot of people around except for my best friend who's like just like me, but that I can talk to about all of these things all the time. And so it's nice to make a video where I can talk uninterrupted. It's crazy. I've never had that in my life. Growing up, we were always like shouting over each other. And so that's really nice. But I also love when I watch a video and somebody, when I connect with the people who are making the videos, because I feel like even though I may not have them in my life in person, I feel like in a way, like it just feels comforting that kindred spirit is out there, and it makes me feel less alone. It makes me feel less like a weirdo. I mean, not a weirdo in a bad way, but like a unicorn sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, am I the only one of my kind? Like doomed to walk the earth forever alone. But no, it's like, I don't know. So if I can provide a feeling for other people that they're not alone, or that they are not the only ones who have gone through what they've gone through, or they aren't the only ones that feel the way they feel about things, I feel like I've done my job. So I hope you enjoy. Talk to you later. Bye.